Good evening and welcome to the Veterans Day Services and Legacy Awards Ceremony for the City of Enid. I am John Pfeiffer, representative for House District 38 for the state of Oklahoma, and I will be your MC for tonight's services. We will begin our program with a warm welcome from the Mayor of Enid, the Honorable Mr. David Mason.
Well, thank you for saying honorable.
He's in the script.
Yeah, he's in the script, okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests, most importantly, our honored veterans, tonight is a great privilege to welcome you to this Veterans Legacy Dinner, where we come together as a grateful community to honor the remarkable men and women who have served our nation. As mayor of the city of Enid, I am filled with pride as I look around this room at so many who have dedicated themselves to something larger than themselves, safeguarding the freedom and values that define our country. Enid is a place that knows the meaning of sacrifice and service, and our connection to the military is both deep and enduring. With Vance Air Force Base as a cornerstone of our city, we've had the honor of watching countless servicemen and women come through our community, each carrying with them the legacy of commitment and bravery. Vance has shaped not only our city's identity, but also the lives of those who have trained here and gone on to defend liberty around the world. To each veteran here tonight, your courage, resilience, and devotion to duty have protected not only our country, but also our future of freedom itself. We know that the path you've walked has not always been easy, and has been often required sacrifices that few here can even understand. We gather tonight because your service matters, not just to this nation, but to each of us personally, as members of this community and as Americans. In closing, I want to offer my sincerest thanks to each veteran present and to the families who have supported them along the way. Your legacy of service inspires us and remains forever woven into the heart of our community. May this evening be one of reflection, respect, and appreciation for each of you who have answered the call to service. Thank you, and may you always feel at home in Enid, surrounded by a community that holds your service in the highest regard. What I would like to do is also read a proclamation for each one of the recipients tonight. They will receive that shortly, but I'd like to go ahead and read it if I can. It says, whereas this Veterans Day, we honor the generations of men and women who have served and sacrificed our country. And whereas, as a nation, we have many obligations, but we only have one truly sacred obligation: to prepare and equip the brave men and women who served and who we have sent into harm's way, and to care for them and their loved ones when they return home. And whereas this Veterans Day, may we honor the incredible faith that our veterans hold, not just in our country, but in all of us. They are the solid steel backbone of our nation, and we must endure to continue being worthy of their sacrifice by working towards protecting the freedom that they have fought to defend. Whereas, in respect and recognition of the contributions of our veterans and their families and survivors have made to the cause of peace and freedom, we will honor them each year on November the 11th. Whereas we encourage all to recognize the valor, courage, and sacrifice of these patriots. Now, therefore, I, David M. Mason, by virtue of the authority vested in me as the mayor of the city of Enid, do hereby call upon our citizens to observe Celebrate Freedom Week in Enid in tribute to those who have served to continue or continue to serve this nation with dignity and with honor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Matt Pinnell was elected as the 17th Lieutenant Governor of Oklahoma in 2018. Pinnell is the President of the Oklahoma State Senate and serves on multiple constitutional boards and commissions, including serving as Chairman of the Oklahoma Tourism Commission, the Route 66 Centennial Commission. He has set his Lieutenant Governor agenda focused on workforce and economic development issues. Pinnell is the chief marketer of Oklahoma and spends much of his time promoting Oklahoma. We are honored to have him here with us tonight as we honor and remember our veterans. Please join me in welcoming to the stage my friend Lieutenant Governor Matt Pinnell to the most patriotic city in Oklahoma.
The most patriotic city in Oklahoma. I would say, as your Lieutenant Governor and as another Lieutenant Governor standing there, Todd Lamb, I think would echo this as well. That is a fact. For Enid, America, Enid, Oklahoma, not just one day is not enough here in Enid to celebrate, again, our veterans all week long, to celebrate the freedoms that our veterans have given us, have fought for. It is a real honor to be here in Enid, America. I'm here a lot, but to be here this evening on one of the best days of the year, Mayor, thank you for this invitation. I want to read to you a quote from George W. Bush it's from a speech that I read often on Veterans Day, but I think this quote kind of sums up again the thank you to our heroes that we have here in this room. Throughout the course of American history, courageous men and women have taken up arms to secure, defend, and maintain these core principles upon which our nation's freedoms depend. Each and every day, 365, 24/7, that's exactly what, again, the heroes in this room have done. Again, taken up arms to secure, defend, and maintain the freedoms that, again, we have as a country. And I love seeing the next generation that's in this room this evening as well, that I know we're going to be giving some awards to here in a second. And we all know Ronald Reagan's quote, that freedom is not just passed on through the bloodstream, right? It's from generation to generation. And I love coming to Veterans Day events and seeing multiple generations, but seeing these younger generations here, for them to realize how important this day is. To pass that baton from one generation to another generation, I think is extremely powerful. But before that famous quote that we know about Ronald Reagan, I think one of the more important parts of that is what he said before. Freedom is fragile. It's fragile. And I think we see that in America today, do we not? How fragile the freedoms in other countries around the world, that they look upon America as really that shining city on the hill. And it was mentioned in my bio, this Route 66 that we have running through our state. And I'll end my brief comments on that, because that really is the freedom road to tourists from around the country and around the world. When I was taking a bunch of Czechs from the Route 66 Czech Republic Association, yes, there is such a thing, to breakfast a few years ago, they told me that story. When all of these Middle Eastern European countries were under communist regime 35 years ago, the patriots in this room remember those days. But when they were under communist regime, there was no such thing as a tourist in those Middle Eastern European countries. And when they were freed from communism, the first trip they took to America was to Oklahoma to see this mother road, this Route 66. Oklahoma truly is freedom. It means freedom to tourists around the world, not just because of Route 66, but because of the history and the heritage that we promote with our veterans in this state. This is one of the stronger patriotic states that we have in the country, and we're very, very proud of that. We have the backs of our veterans in this state. And when people retire from the military, what do? Many of them retire back in Oklahoma because they spent time in this great state of all of these wonderful people and the affordability that we have as a state, right? We have to remember that, and we have to lean into that as a state. It's wonderful to meet the young families across this state that are coming home and then re-entering that workforce. And I do want to say also, in closing, to those out at Vance Air Force Base, the backbone that Vance is in the state of Oklahoma. We have protected our military facilities and infrastructure that we have around the state of Oklahoma. You can thank a whole lot of people, and not me, a whole lot of people that came well before me, but James Mountain Inhofe, the late, great James Mountain Inhofe, deserves a round of applause for everything that he did for protecting our military bases in the state of Oklahoma for decades and decades. So again, a round of applause, please, for the great James Mountain Inhofe. The parade that I was walking in this morning in Tulsa was named the Grand Marshal, the honorary Grand Marshal in that parade this morning, the second largest Veterans Day parade, by the way, in the country, in Tulsa this morning. The honorary marshal was James Mountain Inhofe this morning, which I know probably puts a smile on the face of a lot of Inhofes and a lot of people that remember the work that he did to protect Vance and a lot of our other military bases that we have around the state of Oklahoma. So again, to our veterans, I want to say thank you. Thank you for defending us. Thank you for showing the way, and again, showing the way to these future generations that I see in this room. God bless you, and God bless the free state of Oklahoma. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor. Ladies and gentlemen, for those who are able, please stand as Captain Christopher Gilmore, chaplain at Vance Air Force Base, brings our opening prayer.
So I'm going to pray in my tradition. I would invite you to pray in yours, or you may simply observe a moment of silence. Let's pray. Dear Lord, I want to thank you for the great honor of coming to you now. You have certainly blessed us with this amazing opportunity to celebrate some wonderful legacies. The legacies of service, of excellence, of honor. Provide guidance, dear God. Guidance for those speaking, those presenting, for those being recognized. Guidance to look back on these great achievements in recognition of service and clear eyes to also move forward in light of what's going on in the world around us. And as we reflect tonight on the great legacy of service represented in this room, afford us, Lord, with the opportunity, the ability to continue to serve others, to see in many cases beyond our circumstances and work through our trials, knowing that we need now more than ever to work for the benefit of these United States. And now, Lord, I want to say a particular prayer for our current service members. In my mind's eye, I see the faces and names at Vance Air Force Base, not far from here, knowing that it is filled with young aviators and so many more that have answered the call to serve. Empower them, protect them, and strengthen them, dear Lord, to leave lasting legacies as well. I pray these things in your name. Amen.
Thank you, Captain. Tonight's Services and Legacy Award program is presented by the Woodring Wall of Honor and Veterans Park and the City of Enid. Please sit back and enjoy the awards presentation and the Veterans Day remarks from Medal of Honor recipient Dwight Birdwell and our Lifetime Legacy Patriot of the Year, Todd Lamb. With that, I would like to welcome Mr. Bill Shaw, President of the Woodring Wall of Honor, to announce the winners of the Student Patriotic Art Poster Contest.
Good evening. Good to see all of you here this evening. As many of you know, the Woodring Wall of Honor and Veterans Park was established a few years ago and started out at Woodring Airport. We have the Vietnam Wall replica, 80% replica. It's the state's official Vietnam memorial. We have another wall honoring veterans from Oklahoma whose names are there, plus a military library. And then there's New Life at the Mall. How many of you have been out to the museum? All right. It is growing, and we hope to continue with the help of the city and the state to make it a focal point that would bring people into the community to see what our military history really is. We're getting a number of school programs through so our young people can see what it is that our men had to go through while they were serving in our foreign services. We wish to thank our sponsors, AAA, Jerry Bourne, Edward Jones, who sponsored the art contest. And these entries were sent to all the school systems, and we had over 300 participants. The contest is open to all students, kindergarten through 5th grade. The theme incorporates patriotism and honoring the military, and participants are allowed a variety of mediums, including charcoal, crayon, pencil, and paint, to express that theme. The works created are unique and express the young artist's life experiences and culture. Each poster was judged at originality, artistic merit, and the expression of the theme. The posters were judged by local artists, Charlotte Inns, Ty and Kelly Tompkins. The first place winners in each division will receive a $100 gift certificate for their classroom, in addition to winning a $50 gift certificate for themselves. First, second, and third place winners are given. This year we added 3 honorable mentions from each division because the choices were so difficult. If the following students and teachers would step forward, please. From K1, honorable mention was Elena Arp, Prairie View, Miss Holland in the 1st grade. Come right on up. Third place is Winter Vaughn from Glenwood, Mrs. Conchola, and the 1st grade. Second place was Blakely Kirkendall, Prairie View, Ms. Martin, kindergarten. First place, Caroline Gilliland, Prairie View, from Ms. Holland's class, also in the 1st grade. All right. We have the 2nd and 3rd grade categories. The honorable mention was McLean Stedman from Hayes School, Mrs. Miles with the teacher in the 3rd grade. Third place was Peyton Bicknell, Glenwood School, Mrs. Stopp, also in the 3rd grade. Second place, Claudeline Korak, Eisenhower, Mrs. Inselman, 3rd grade. And first place, Leland Phillip from Glenwood, Miss Ebel, 3rd grade. All right. And then for the 4th and 5th grades, and all of these, well, no, sorry to say. Honorable mention is Cooper Fagan from Hayes School, Miss Hanley, 5th grader. Okay. All right. Third place, Peyton Perot, Prairie View, Miss Harbrun, 4th grade. Very good. Second place, Eva Mora, Hayes, Miss Handley, 5th grade. And the first place is also for Miss Handley's class, J.C. Pugh from Hayes School. All right. All the posters are up here on display for you to view afterwards. They'll be also on display at the Oklahoma Mall, at the Oakwood Mall Museum. The museum is open from 11 to 4, Thursday through Saturday. We're looking to open it more hours when we get more volunteers to kind of help and participate and be there to integrate the people. So if you're interested, we're here to welcome you aboard. Thank you for your participation, and we look forward to another successful contest next year. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Sean. Congratulations to all the winners. On November 11th each year, Enid and our nation comes together to honor and express gratitude to our veterans. In addition, we are dedicated to creating a memorable and meaningful Veterans Day experience for our next generation. Thank you to all the students who participated in the poster contest. What a way to deepen students' understanding of the significance of Veterans Day while fostering a sense of appreciation and respect. With that, please join me in thanking the Unruh family for using their musical talents to entertain us tonight. We appreciate the creativity that allows students to express their gratitude through music to honor our service members. They will now play tribute to those who have served in our military by playing the service songs. When you recognize your song, please stand and be honored. That was great. Thank you all for that. Please stand as we observe this historical flag presentation by the Junior ROTC Color Guard from Enid High School, followed by the national anthem performed by Delaney Carruthers.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Please be seated. Thank you to the Honor Guards and Delaney for that great rendition of our national anthem. At this time, I would like to take the opportunity to introduce additional distinguished guests that are here this evening. As we've already announced, Mr. David Mason, Mayor of Enid and presenter of the Lifetime Legacy Award. Medal of Honor recipient, Dwight Birdwell, U.S. Army, and our keynote speaker. Colonel Carl Miller, Deputy Wing Commander, Vance Air Force Base. Legacy Award presenters, Gerald Gilbert, Colonel, U.S. Army, retired and City Manager for the City of Enid. Frank Baker, U.S. Navy. Doug Franz, U.S. Marine Corps, past Mayor of Enid. George Pankinen, Major, U.S. Air Force, retired, past Mayor of Enid. I'd also like to recognize the board members of the Woodring Wall of Honor and City of Enid Commissioners, if they would please stand at this time. I would also like to recognize our previous Legacy Award honorees who are attending or watching our services tonight. Judge Robert Lovell, U.S. Army. Artie Lawrence, U.S. Army Air Corps. Also like to announce at this time that Mr. Lawrence will be receiving the Oklahoma Medal of Honor at the beginning of next year at the Oklahoma State Capitol. So congratulations on that well-deserved but long put-off award. John Atkinson, U.S. Air Force. Bill Schwarzenegger, U.S. Air Force. I'm sorry, and if I mispronounce anybody's name, I'm sorry. I've been practicing for 2 days. It's Pfeiffer. People say it Pfeiffer all the time, so I've been trying. So if I mispronounce, I do apologize. Just a corporal in the Marine Corps. We're lucky I'm not licking any windows, so please bear with me. Jack Taney, U.S. Army. Doug Franz, U.S. Marine Corps. Jay Chambers, U.S. Navy. Joe Day, U.S. Army. Bill Shaw, U.S. Air Force. Lindrith Tugger Palmer, U.S. Navy. Dong Ek, U.S. Marine Corps. Orville Sherrill, U.S. Army Air Corps. Dewey King, U.S. Army. Chuck DeBellevue, U.S. Air Force. H.B. Evans, U.S. Army Air Corps. Ben Robinson, U.S. Marine Corps, U.S. Air Force, retired. Charles Hankinen, U.S. Marine Corps, along with our living legacy lifetime achievement veterans and citizens. Jack Warner, Eric Benson, Patrick Healy, Bob Ford, Dan Onesorge, George Pankinen, Christina Hooper, and Gerald Gilbert. Thank you all. We are here today on this Veterans Day observance for the City of Enid to remember our U.S. Armed Forces, our nation's finest and bravest men and women. Since the times of George Washington, more than 42 million men and women have put on the uniform and taken the oath to defend our country. So this is the day that we can and should talk about the heroism and sacrifice. And if you will flip through our nation's history book, you will be inundated with accounts of bravery that still resonate deep within us decades later. There is no doubt that our veterans have paved the way for our military's reputation as the finest fighting force in the world, both in strength and in character. Tonight, we will pay tribute to several area veterans who have been nominated by their families or peers for outstanding service to their community, state, and nation. I'd like to ask Colonel Gerald Gilbert to introduce the Army Legacy Veteran of the Year.
Well, good evening. It's my pleasure to make the introduction for the Army Legacy Veteran of the Year, Mr. Dwight Birdwell. He is our keynote speaker and U.S. Army Legacy Veteran of the Year, and he's the only Cherokee Nation of Oklahoma citizen from the Vietnam War to receive the Medal of Honor. Dwight Birdwell was born in Amarillo, but moved with his family to Oklahoma as a small child. After graduating from Stillwell High School in 1967, he joined the Army and was stationed in Korea and Vietnam, achieving the rank of Specialist 5. He was assigned to Troop Charlie, 3rd Squadron, 4th Cavalry, 25th Infantry Division. On January 31st, 1968, his unit raced to defend Tan Son Nhut Air Base, which was under heavy attack during what was to become known as the Tet Offensive. Throughout the entire engagement, Birdwell repeatedly placed himself in extreme danger to protect his team and defeat the enemy. For his heroism in combat that day, Birdwell was awarded the first of his 2 Silver Stars. Birdwell also received 2 Purple Hearts and a Bronze Star during his enlistment before receiving his honorable discharge from the Army in late 1968. He returned to Oklahoma and married the love of his life, Virginia, in 1969. He also enrolled in college and graduated with academic distinction from Northeastern State University in Tahlequah in 1972. He then went to OU Law School, where he graduated with academic distinction in 1976 and began practicing law. The Judicial Appeals Tribunal, which is the Supreme Court for the Cherokee Nation, appointed Birdwell in 1987. He served until 1999, and on 2 occasions, 1995 and 1997, was named Chief Justice. He has been a practicing attorney in Oklahoma City for over 45 years. He received the Oklahoma Bar Association Medal of Valor and Northeastern State University's President's Award in 2022. In 23, he received the OU School of Law's highest honor, the Order of the Owl, and was awarded a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Oklahoma chapter of American Board of Trial Advocates in 2023. His military honors include being inducted into the Oklahoma Military Hall of Fame in 2017 and receiving his Medal of Honor on July 5, 2022 from President Biden at the White House. He and Virginia have been married for 55 years. They have 2 children and 2 grandchildren. Dwight Birdwell exemplifies the highest qualities of patriotism, leadership, trustworthiness, and service to others, not just as a Vietnam combat veteran, but he has continued to demonstrate these values throughout all spheres of his life as a citizen of the United States, the state of Oklahoma, and the Cherokee Nation. His leadership, patriotism, and service to others saved the lives of many combat soldiers, impacted the Cherokee Nation's justice system, and the quality of life for those he served. It's my honor and privilege to introduce Vietnam Medal of Honor and our U.S. Army Legacy Veteran of the Year, Dwight Birdwell.
Well, I'm very honored this evening to present not one but 2 Navy Legacy Awards, and both recipients are most worthy, as you'll find out in the next few moments. First off, Gene B. Atkinson. Our next legacy veteran is a retired captain in both the Navy and Marine Corps. He's regarded as an expert in military public affairs, having served at the highest levels of military commands in the U.S., Europe, and Asia, and has military occupational specialty designations for artillery, motor transport, and public affairs. Upon graduation from the University of Central Oklahoma, our veteran was commissioned through the Marine Corps Platoon Leaders class and served in Vietnam as a Marine lieutenant. He was a company commander as a second lieutenant and led Rough Rider convoys through enemy territory. He later was assigned to Headquarters Marine Corps in Washington, D.C. as the visual production officer and worked on motion pictures such as Tora, Tora, Tora. After completing his Marine Corps obligation, our recipient effected an inter-service transfer to the Navy's new Public Affairs program. He commanded public affairs units in Kansas City, Dallas, and Oklahoma City, and served as a special assistant to the Region 11 Readiness Commander. He was recalled to active duty in 1989 and commanded one of 3 joint information bureaus, coordinating and interfacing with hundreds of international news media organizations. He was responsible for press operations in the United Arab Emirates as the director of the important Joint Information Bureau Dubai. He was at this time awarded the rare additional occupational specialty of International Affairs Officer, media covering U.S. forces during Operation Desert Shield and Desert Storm. Upon his return to the United States at the end of the Gulf War, This veteran served as the Naval Liaison Officer for the Oklahoma Office of Emergency Management during the Alfred P. Murrah building bombing. He retired from military service as a captain in 1995 after a distinguished 28-year career. His decorations include 2 Vietnam Cross of Gallantry Awards, 3 Navy Commendation Medals with Combat V, and Saudi Arabian Kuwait Liberation Medal for his service in Desert Storm. In his civilian life, he's advised both governors and members of Congress of both parties. He served as Director of Communications for the Governor of Oklahoma and served 2 terms as a member of the Oklahoma House of Representatives in the early 1980s. He founded Atkinson Advertising Associates and was one of the few members of his profession with extensive experience in the corporate, agency, military, and political arenas. He was inducted into the Oklahoma Journalism Hall of Fame in 2010. He's authored 3 books, including one, Blood Moon at Cabin Creek, which was designated as an Oklahoma Centennial Project. Active in his community, he's a past president of the Rotary Club of Oklahoma City, past president of the Committee of 100, past vice chair of the Capitol Preservation Commission, chair emeritus and co-founder of Friends of the Capitol Incorporated, past secretary of the Board of Trustees of the Cherokee National Historical Society, past trustee for the University of Central Oklahoma, their foundation, a charter member of the Oklahoma Marine Corps Coordinating Council. He serves as past chair of the Board of Delta Dental, Oklahoma, and a past board member of Partners in Public Health, as well as past secretary of the Oklahoma Tourism Commission. He's married to his wife of 50 years, Sally. They have 3 grown children and 2 grandsons. May I present to you our first U.S. Navy Legacy Veteran of the Year, Gene Atkinson. Okay, it's double Navy time, which I'm totally in favor of. We have another Navy Legacy Award to give. Our next U.S. Navy recipient was born in Mangum and raised in Altus, graduating back in 1937. After graduating high school, our recipient attended the New Mexico Military Institute and began his military service in the Oklahoma National Guard. Upon graduation, he was assigned with the 45th Infantry to guard President Roosevelt's train. The Marco Polo train was making several stops in Oklahoma as part of his presidential campaign. The train stayed in Worcester, McAllister, Shawnee, and finally Oklahoma City, and thus required 24-hour protection. Roosevelt assumed the presidency at the depth of the Great Depression and wrapped up his time in Oklahoma with the following. During these past 6 years, the people of this nation have said yes to the old biblical question, am I my brother's keeper? He sensed a great devotion to the teachings of the Scriptures, to the quickening of religion, to a greater willingness on the part of the individuals to help his neighbor and to live less unto and for himself alone. That makes Oklahoma great, and America calls for a government with a soul. Through that, our veteran served his country and president. What a way to serve in your first assignment in the U.S. Army while on summer vacation. He went on to further his education and entered dental school in Kansas City. Upon graduation, he was commissioned as a lieutenant in the U.S. Navy. He commanded a dental clinic at the Naval Station Treasure Island, an auxiliary air facility for airships, blimps, planes, and seaplanes. Treasure Island was a man-made island originally constructed for an airport in San Francisco, but with the war looming, the Navy moved in. During World War II, over 12,000 men a day were processed there for the Pacific Theater, and thousands were processed for separation in the aftermath of the war. It was a vital part of the success in the war effort on the stateside support of our overall mission. Following World War II, Earl moved to Enid and set up his dental practice, but the military wasn't through with his services. He was called back to service by the U.S. Air Force when the Korean War began, which at that time had no doctors or dentists. He was transferred to San Antonio and Orlando before returning to Enid, honorably discharged in 1953. He practiced dentistry for more than 50 years in Enid and served on the staff of all hospitals. He was instrumental in the establishment of the Garfield County Dental Association, was the editor of the Oklahoma Dental Journal, and for 2 years was the national president of the American Association of Dental Editors. Locally involved in church, Boy Scouts, Police Athletic League, coached football, baseball, and basketball, and served in leadership in the Exchange Club, American Business Club, now the Enid Noon Ambucks, the Rotary Club, Toastmasters, and Enid Writers Club. He's also held numerous board positions, including the YMCA, RSVP, Salvation Army, and Greater Enid Chamber of Commerce. Our World War II U.S. Navy veteran couldn't be with us tonight. Good reason. He's working on his upcoming 105th birthday. I know. So he's resting a little bit. I think he's earned it after all these years, don't you think? Following those great years of service and accepting the award tonight is his son, Dr. James Mabry, a U.S. Army Vietnam veteran. So may I present to you the legacy of a great man, Dr. Earl Mabry, our Navy Legacy Veteran of the Year recipient.
Please be seated. I'm particularly honored tonight because I am honoring a young man who is the grandson of some dear friends of mine, Irv Honigsberg, and oh my gosh, I've drawn a blank. What's Irv's wife's name? Ruth Ann, excuse me. I knew her well, but when you're under the gun, you sometimes forget these things. The United States Marine Corps Light Armored Reconnaissance Battalions, or LAR battalions, are fast and mobilized armored terrestrial reconnaissance units that conduct reconnaissance in force ahead of the battalion landing teams or division infantry forces. They mainly provide the Marine Air Ground Task Force, and they are the Marine Expeditionary Unit Commanders' vital intelligence of the enemy. They perform their methods as special motorized infantry-based reconnaissance units, as they are equipped with weapons to quickly penetrate enemy lines and locate and/or harass any enemy forces to determine their size, strengths, location, and any other pertinent information requested of the Marine commanders. Our honoree began his military service as a light armored vehicle gunner and was quickly promoted to the position of vehicle commander due to his flawless service during an extremely difficult deployment in Iraq. He sought contact and reported information on enemy troops, activities, and equipment. During combat, operating almost continuously under anti-tank rocket and indirect fire, our warrior engaged enemy troops, artillery, and tanks on numerous occasions. During the Battle of Fallujah, the battalion accounted for numerous enemy KIA, the destruction of 12 enemy tanks, a further 35 tanks with airstrikes, and the capture of 120 EPWs. Delta Company conducted combat operations around Fallujah, Zaydan, El-Karma, Abu Ghraib, and Azza something. Our honoree was constantly in the field and was often engaged directly during this time in combat situations. Additionally, Outlaw 2 provided personal security to the 1st Marine Division Commander, Major General Jim Mattis, during 2 meetings with insurgent leaders in the middle of downtown Fallujah between the Battle of Fallujah 1 and Fallujah 2. As a result of its constant presence in the field, D Company experienced high casualties. The company suffered 7 KIA, 20 WIA, and lost 3 LAV-25s to enemy contact. As a vehicle gunner, our honoree was engaged in several engagements against the maneuvering enemy. In one engagement, he was able to remain focused while taking both direct and indirect fire when both his vehicle guns had malfunctioned. He managed to rig a system to engage with both weapon systems and defeat the enemy. For this, he received the Navy and Marine Corps Achievement Medal with a Combat V for Valor. As a vehicle commander, while engaged in a 5-hour engagement against a maneuvering enemy, he and his wingman were able to read the battlefield and anticipate the enemy's next move, which resulted in a major defeat for the enemy. Our sergeant's dedication to duty was exemplified by extending his enlistment to deploy to Iraq for another tour. When many were doing everything to avoid additional tours, our honoree volunteered to go back and serve. His loyal devotion to duty, experience, and knowledge of the light armored reconnaissance community was vital to the Marine success in Iraq. With that, may I present to you our United States Marine Legacy Veteran of the Year, Michael Honigsberg II.
Honor, service, commitment, terms deeply ingrained in our recipient's life. From military service to community service, our U.S. Air Force Legacy Veteran of the Year has spent his life in the multifaceted concept. From his start with the 6931st Electronic Security Squadron to the City of Enid Police Department, these traits have been a cornerstone of his interaction with our security and allied forces, setting the cultural tone for Enid Police Department and his commitment to the citizens and community of Enid. Our veteran began his military career in San Antonio, Texas, and was soon stationed with the 6931st Electronic Security Squadron. This squadron found a home on the beautiful Mediterranean island of Crete. More than 400 officers and airmen in the squadron were responsible for an integral part of U.S. worldwide communications and security network. The unit provides rapid radio delay, secure communications and command, control and communications, countermeasures in support of U.S. and allied forces. The unit advised U.S. and allied commanders concerning procedures and techniques, intelligence, surveillance and reconnaissance, which could be used to counter our country's adversaries' command and control communications. It also researched electronic phenomena and transmission security.
After his tenure in cybersecurity, our veteran came to Enid for his next assignment at Vance Air Force Base. Incidentally, he and I were stationed at Vance together, 20, 30 years ago? He went on a blind date and soon married the love of his life, Sarah. When Brian completed his enlistment, he and Sarah moved back to his home of record in Indianapolis. Shortly after they moved, they returned to Enid for a short vacation visit to Sarah's family. Brian had always been interested in law enforcement, and there was an article in the Enid newspaper calling for interested personnel to apply for vacancies on the Enid Police Department. Brian applied and was hired in 1989. He and Sarah moved back to Enid, where he has spent the remainder of his career continuing to serve not just the police force, but the community as a whole. Brian has always had a community-oriented approach to service, which includes preserving order, protecting life and property, and enforcing laws. The understanding of honor and service is a beacon which guides his action and shapes his leadership. It goes beyond the job to all aspects of this veteran's life. He demonstrates both on and off duty, both in public and in private, both with community members and with family and his friends. Brian grew and developed his leadership skills, advancing from entry-level police officer to the chief of police. His police assignments included serving as a SWAT officer, a detective, crimes against children officer, and DARE prevention director. He was promoted to his position as Enid's chief of police on September 2nd, 2021, becoming the city's 12th chief of police since the Police Civil Service Commission was created in 1937. In addition to serving as a police officer, he's become increasingly interested in serving on many available nonprofit organizations. He served as an active member on the Air Force Association, the Enid Joint Recreation Triad, Vance Sports Officials, and the CARE Campus and AMBUCS. Our locally recognized Batman is a committed veteran, police officer, and community leader who leaves a legacy of service to our community while treating us all with admiration and respect. His office serves all the greater Enid community, and we are proud that he is has the honor of their command. Brian is not feeling well and was unable to join us tonight, so accepting his award is going to be his wife, Sarah. Please join me in honoring U.S. Air Force Veteran of the Year, Brian Skaggs.
Our Lifetime Legacy Patriot of the Year distinction designated career spans public service, statewide elected office, private law practice, and business ownership. Born in Enid, Norma, and Belleville Lamb, he graduated from Enid High School and played football for 2 years at Louisiana Tech before moving back to Oklahoma, earning his bachelor's degree from Oklahoma State University and his law degree from Oklahoma City University School of Law. In 1993, he worked on the campaign staff of gubernatorial candidate Frank Keating. Upon Keating's election, he served in the Keating administration from 1994 until 1998. During that time, he traveled to all of Oklahoma's 77 counties, almost half of the United States, and 2 foreign countries, promoting Governor Keating's pro-growth economic agenda. In 1998, Todd Lamb became a special agent with the United States Secret Service. He was elected president of his Secret Service Academy class and graduated with special recognition. During his U.S. Secret Service tenure, Lamb investigated and made numerous arrests in the areas of counterfeiting, bank fraud, threats against the president, and identity theft. His duties included domestic and international protection assignments during the Clinton and George W. Bush administration. In 2000, Lamb was a site supervisor for George W. Bush's presidential campaign. In early 2001, he was appointed to the National Joint Terrorism Task Force, where he received training and briefing at the CIA, FBI, and the Secret Service headquarters in Washington, D.C. After the terrorist attack, he was assigned to portions of the 9/11 investigation. Following his tenure with the Secret Service, Lamb worked on the staff of U.S. Senator Don Nichols. He was elected to the Oklahoma State Senate in 2004, where he represented portions of Edmond and Northwest Oklahoma City. And in 2009, Lamb became the first Republican majority floor leader in the state's history. Lamb was elected as the Lieutenant Governor of the state of Oklahoma, a position that he held from 2011 to 2019. During his time in elected office at the Oklahoma State Capitol, he served in a number of leadership roles focusing on tourism, educational, financial, and commerce matters. He also was the recipient of the Oklahoma State Regents Distinguished Service Award for his dedication to strengthening higher education in Oklahoma. Lamb became the 22nd president of the University of Central Oklahoma on July the 1st, 2023. Patriot Citizen of the Year Award was awarded to leaders and role models whose leadership and impact throughout Enid can be regarded with pride. These outstanding citizens are chosen for their definable, exceptional deeds with which he or she has made their community, or in this case, our nation, a better place to live. Norman Lamb was our first recipient of this award in November of 2010, and we're proud to recognize his son, 15 years to the date, as our recipients. May I present to you our Lifetime Legacy Patriot of the Year recipient, Todd Lamb.
Now, if anybody would like to come, and we're going to allow time for pictures, if any of the families or anybody would like to take pictures at this time. Okay. At this time, if our Lifetime Legacy Award winner, Mr. Todd Lamb, will join us. Oh, sorry. Okay. At this time, I'd like to invite Todd Lamb to the stage to make a few remarks.
Rest easy. I know I'm not the keynote. I didn't know I was going to speak until Elaine whispered in my ear, and I said, Elaine, are you sure? You want me to say a few words? She said, yes, you better say a few words. I do want to say thank you. I'm honored to receive this award for many reasons, chiefly because what was said by the mayor. My dad received this award several years ago, and I was in this room helping present that to him. I never felt like Dad cast a shadow over me, but I always felt like my dad set a bar, an example, and a paradigm of service, which is something I have attempted to emulate to some degree throughout my career. I do want to make some very brief introductions. My sister Kim is here tonight. She could be anywhere else. She probably tried to find a conflict, but her night was open. She's here. Her husband, my brother-in-law Gene, who is less like a brother-in-law and more like a brother, Gene Akers, is here tonight. And my dear lifelong best friend, Mike Fields, who I went to high school with. We played basketball in this arena. Remember when you could do that? A moment of silence for the former basketball court. But Mike Fields, a long-serving DA, a paradigm of public service in his own right. Mike, thank you for being here. Tell Jennifer thank you. And my bride of almost 30 years, Monica Lamb, who's been an example of service in the classroom. I will close with this. Enid is a sense of community. And to serve and to give back, I think any individual has a distinct advantage if they are raised and grow up in a community. I know some lines have shifted, but when you were born in Enid in 1971 and you became the age of awareness, you knew what? You knew you would be an Enid Plainsman. You just knew that, because that was community. You might be a Hayes Hawk, a Taft Tiger, a Glenwood Grizzly, McKinley Cardinal, but you knew someday you would be an Enid Plainsman. And I took for granted the sound of freedom. I thought every community growing up had jets buzzing overhead on a daily and hourly basis. It wasn't until years later when I had some life experience I realized that is very unique to Enid, Oklahoma, and those that have bases like Enid. So to our veterans, thank you for what you've done. You deserve more than a day, but I'm glad the greatest country in the world takes out one day to say thank you, veterans. God bless you for your service. Thank you for your service. And Enid, thank you for raising me.
Dwight Birdwell was born in Texas but raised in Oklahoma. He grew up in a small, predominantly Cherokee Indian community of Bell. He graduated from Stillwell High School in 1966 and entered the U.S. Army. Following his service, he graduated from Northeastern State University in Tahlequah in 1972, and then went on to graduate from the University of Oklahoma College of Law. He served as a member of the Judicial Appeals Tribunal, Supreme Court, of the Cherokee Nation, serving as its Chief Justice for several years. He has been practicing law in Oklahoma for over 45 years. Mr. Birdwell was inducted into the Oklahoma Military Hall of Fame in 2017. He was awarded the Oklahoma Bar Association Medal of Valor in November of 2022. He has received numerous other awards. Mr. Birdwell has been married to his wife Virginia for 55 years. They have 2 children and 2 grandchildren.
A hero to countless people, Dwight Birdwell sees himself as a former strawberry picker from Stillwell, a Cherokee community in eastern Oklahoma, even while receiving the prestigious Medal of Honor. We had the honor of accompanying Mr. Birdwell to Washington, D.C., as he became the only Native American recipient for his heroic actions in the Vietnam War.
Dwight Birdwell is the only Native American to receive the Medal of Honor from the Vietnam era. He was a hero.
He was just what that medal says, above and beyond the call of duty.
He saved many, many, many lives that day. You just can't believe what he did that day. It's hard for me to believe it, and I saw it.
And here was a situation that Dwight was put in. And had he not taken the initiative to do what he did, there would have been many more killed and wounded.
I have no doubts that a lot of people, more than they give him credit for, were saved based on that day.
I'm grateful for all you've given to our country, and that at long last, your story is being honored as it should have been always.
Well, I'm Dwight W. Birdwell. I grew up in this community of Bell. Bell community, I venture to say at that time, was at least 90% Cherokee. We didn't have, nobody really had that much from Bell. And for a lot of people, it was a very, very hard life. We're at Bell School. I started Bell School. First grade, I walked to school. I walked through the woods, and that was the big adventure every day. Thomas Muskrat didn't live too far away, and he put up with me. Taught me a lot. I was very fortunate to have his influence in my life. I remember sometime in the 50s, Thomas was in the military, and I saw him in Stillwell wearing his uniform. And I thought, boy, that looks good. I want to be like Thomas. And I knew when I was close to getting out of high school, the only way out for me was the military. I was so anxious to go that when I enlisted, I told the recruiter, I want to go to Vietnam. I felt like it was my duty to go to Vietnam, to serve in the time of war, My idea was that Cherokee people don't hide, They get out front and fight for their people, fight for the country. So I wanted to go. I went through Saigon. It was very urban, kind of reminded me of Tulsa, Oklahoma. And then got to my unit and eventually started going, as we say, out to the field. We'd go out on ambush patrol, come in like 5 in the morning, then we'd start on what they call search and destroy, searching for the enemy, or there would be a big convoy coming through, and it was our job to provide security for the convoy. That was just round the clock. Some people slept on ambush patrol. I didn't. But I didn't want to die sleeping. And just, constant terror. They were all around us, and they used little green flashlights to sort their way through the jungle. In the distance, you'd see those little green lights moving and what have you. So it was never a time of no anxiety. Always high tension. Tonsanute at that time was the most active air base in the world, civilian or military. I was told that an aircraft was taking off there every 30 seconds, taking off or landing. And it was a main hub for U.S. air support, supplies, and what have you. We got a call early in the morning of the 31st saying, you need to go down to Tonsanute. There's a squad at VC breaking into the wire and we want you to stop them. We just sent part of the unit down, 60 or 80 people. And when we got to Tonsanute, we discovered there was like a regiment. And we drove right in the middle. They remained quiet until we got into the middle of them. Then everything cut loose.
Oh boy. I was in the lead vehicles on that battle that day, and they just kind of wiped us out in a few minutes.
They hit us from both sides and disabled most of our vehicles.
C Troop immediately came under heavy enemy fire from both sides of the road. Specialist 5 Birdwell, upon seeing that his tank commander was wounded by enemy fire, immediately went to his aid.
Dwight had to evacuate him from the tank, which he did. He got him off the tank, down, and to a place of safety.
So they were actually shooting at us from both directions, and we were in the middle. And man, this ain't good. This ain't good. We got to do something. And that's when 3rd Platoon come pulling up, and there's Dwight, like a knight in shining armor.
He then got back on the tank and started returning fire into the enemy force.
Birdwell stood in his commander's hatch at times, half exposed, at times standing entirely out of the tank, fully exposed, laying down suppressive fire on the enemy.
And Dwight had fired all the main gun ammunition on there. His 50 caliber had overheated and jammed on him.
Essentially, I ran out of ammunition. About that time, General Otis, Lieutenant Colonel Otis, was flying above. His helicopter for the 4th time was shot down. And he crashed behind my tank. And, you know, I'm watching the helicopter come down thinking, this is not real.
When a U.S. helicopter crashed nearby, Specialist 5 Birdwell, under withering enemy fire, dismounted and moved to the helicopter where he retrieved 2 M60 machine guns and ammunition.
They gave a 160 caliber to one of the troopers and with ammunition, and he took the other back with him and climbed back on the tank and commenced firing again.
Specialist 5 Birdwell continued to engage the enemy with complete disregard for his own safety until the M60 he was firing was hit by enemy fire.
The shrapnel from it went all over, went into his face, arms and chest, wounding him. And he kept fighting, but eventually they got an evacuation helicopter in later, and he was ordered to leave. So he got on the chopper, but he then just slid out the other side of the chopper and returned to the battle.
Instead, Specialist 5 Birdwell, under enemy fire, rallied fellow soldiers to advance toward the front of the armored column, where they set up a defensive position by a large tree.
He wasn't slowing down at all. He just kept doing the job.
So I just felt like I'm going to fight as long as I can. So that's why I did that. I wasn't going to say die until I was dead.
His leadership and tenacity under fire inspired the other C Troop soldiers to continue fighting against the superior enemy force, and directly contributed to the enemy's ultimate defeat.
And everybody talked about it all the time, what he did.
If it hadn't been for these high-powered rounds going over my head the other way, I wouldn't be here today. And it's not just that he pulled me into safety. He helped load them on helicopters. He helped load them on a personnel carrier. Did a lot of different things that day.
To me, he is my hero. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Dwight Birdwell. That's a fact. He saved us. If he wouldn't have pulled up there, we'd all been gone.
We talk about Tonsanute and the things he did to earn this medal, but he did that the whole time we were in Vietnam. It wasn't a one-time affair. That's what people don't understand. People think that people receive these kind of awards for just one incident, the Tonsonute incident. Bertie had at least 10 Tonsonutes where he led our troops in battle. He helped everybody. You know, he showed us how to do things.
God made him here for a reason. He put him here for a reason. And I believe that Tonsonute, his purpose was to save those people and save that airbase. If they hadn't have done that, they'd have taken over the airbase.
The North Vietnamese paid a heavy price, so did we. I just considered myself a tool or instrument of God. And it was God that saved them and used me to do it. For what reason, I don't know. But I'm glad they got to live. The war haunted me for years, particularly the thought of why did I survive and so many others perish. Late 79, I had I guess you might say, or I would say a reckoning. I came to the conclusion that there was nothing I could do about the past. I could just live for the future. And then when I did go up for judgment, if I had the courage, I would ask God, why did you let me live? Did I fulfill your expectation? I'm very appreciative of having survived, but I feel bad for those who didn't. I feel bad for their families. On the memorial are the names of all the people who were killed in Vietnam, including members of our unit. We saw the names of many of them very, very close friends. And of course, they were just like us, for the most part, poor boys who had their hopes and dreams, and seeing their names and paying respect to them was very nice. But of course, it's difficult, you know. Recalling those things and just wishing that they had a chance to come home, enjoy life, to hear a baby cry, be kissed by a lady, eat ice cream, all the, things that make life worthwhile. Their lives were cut short. The awarding of the Medal of Honor ceremony itself, conducted by President Biden, and President Biden made the comment that this should have been awarded long ago. And finally, here today, we correct that oversight, that mistake. I appreciated that. But I hope Thomas Muskrat feels proud of me. I believe he does. And other Cherokee men. It's a means to bring pride to Native people and tell the rest of the world, the U.S. population, look here's a Cherokee Indian who did a good job. We all do our best to do a good job, and you need to respect and honor us. We're just as good as you are. I guess the thing most important to me is if he can do it, we can do it. Especially the little ones. I really don't think there's anything that unique about me. I just travel the road, and if they look at me and they say, I can travel that road too, but I won't make the mistakes that he made. I'll avoid the devil's drink and not embarrass myself or my people. But I hope that that's the effect that I have, if there's any at all.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming to the stage Medal of Honor recipient Dwight Birdwell.
I was
born in 1922. Dad was heavily involved in politics, and he was the state Democratic Party chairman in the state of Oklahoma.
Please be seated.
Mother, I guess, were...
Sometimes I speak softly. If you can't hear me, please let me know. Over the past several months, I've been asked what Goodwill store or Salvation Army store I got this coat. Actually, I didn't. A group of tailors on the East Coast made this coat for me and all the other Medal of Honor recipients. They had the coat sewn in London. The fabric came from Scotland. So if you see pictures of recent vintage of Medal of Honor awardees, you'll see many of them wearing this jacket. That's where it came from. It's the first coat I've received for free since I got out of the Army, and I'm determined to wear it until I wear it out or die. So anytime you see me in the winter or summertime, I'm going to be wearing this coat. But I assure you, when I go to the shower, I take it off. Now, let me tell you about this Medal of Honor. It took 50-plus years for it to catch up with me. What happened after the battle at Tonsanood on January 31st, 1968, our Lieutenant Colonel Glenn Otis came to me the early part of February and said, I'm going to put you in for the Medal of Honor. And he did. But what happened a short time later, he was seriously wounded in combat and evacuated, never to return. And the people running the orderly room, that's the business office, considered me a bit of a joke because of my background, made fun of the fact that I was a Cherokee Indian. And they butchered his paperwork, got the award downgraded to a Silver Star. I soldiered on, and July the 4th, 68, I received a second Silver Star. And early, I guess it was 81 or 82, I got a call from then four-star General Otis, who said, I'm going to be in Oklahoma City at Tinker Air Force Base. Would you come out to see me? And of course, I'm not going to tell a four-star general no anytime. And he asked me during the course of that meeting what happened to the Medal of Honor recommendation. I told him. He said, well, someday we're going to have to get that corrected. Around 2009, he contacted me and he said, I'm running out of life. He said, we're going to have to get it done. So he started doing the paperwork, collected it, and submitted it, I believe, in August of 2011. He was a wonderful man, deeply religious, and always planning ahead. And he knew his time was limited, so he made arrangements for someone to take over the effort in case he didn't make it. He died in February of 13. The person who took it over was a major, retired major, who had been the commander of a sister unit. And to give you an idea of his character, he was a recipient of 5 Silver Stars. And he was possessed of great wisdom, courage, and dignity. His name was Major Jerry Headley. He pushed the thing through, and finally I got a call from President Biden on Memorial Day 2022, and he told me, he said, I'm going to award you the Medal of Honor. He talked for about 10 minutes, and at the end of the conversation, he said, well, I've dominated this conversation. Is there anything you'd like to say? I said, well, just one thing. He said, what is it? I said, you sound just like you do on TV. And he got a big laugh out of that and made me feel good because I thought, well, I got his mind off of things that were probably a big burden, even if it was a short period of time. And receiving the medal, I accepted it in my heart and mind for those men who fell that day, for those men who were seriously injured and would never be the same, as well as their families. As far as the glory and honor associated with this award, it belongs to God. No way I could have done what happened that day without God's hand. And many people who were there have come up to me over the years and said, well, thank you for saving my life. To each one of them, I say, I didn't, God did. Some of them look at me like I'm a nut job. Others just stare in disbelief, and some say, I understand. But that's the truth. God's hand was in this. It wasn't me. I've had other people say, well, that's a reflection of what's bad in this country. They held your background against you. That's bad. No, I say it's good. It reflects the goodness of the country. The country has the ability and does often in these times correct the mistakes of the past. This award was a correction of that. And I can say without hesitation, God bless the USA. We live in a good country. And as far as people on active duty who are here tonight, and those veterans who have served previously, no matter what your veteran or active duty person did, their job was very important. I've got a friend who didn't serve on the front line. He served in Vietnam. He won't come to the reunions because he wasn't on the line in combat. And I try to emphasize to him, your job was important. There's no job in the military that's not important. Keep that in mind. Embrace and love your active duty person and your veteran. We've been all in this together. And because of the veterans and those on active duty, we remain a free country. God bless America. Thank you for being here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Spec Birdwell, for those remarks. At this time, I'd like to ask Bill Shaw, President of the Woodring Wall of Honor and Veterans Park, to come forward to make a special presentation.
How about one more round of applause for our Medal of Honor? Thank you all for being here this evening. We're so proud of the growth of the Woodring Wall of Honor Veterans Park in the last 25 years. It has sprung from a Make a Difference Day project into a multi-million-dollar Veterans Park and Museum. But we can't do that alone. It takes a team of volunteer supporters to continue our goal to honor, remember, and educate and heal. It takes the city and it takes the state to help us. We have a plethora of assets that include vehicles, memorabilia, aircraft, helicopters, tanks, guns. I could go on, but the greatest assets we have are our volunteers. The board and I would like you to know we much appreciate your commitment to our Veterans Park. You make a difference. Your great generosity has had a profound and lasting impact on us. Your willingness to share both your time and your talent by volunteering, whether it's helping willingness to share both in your time and collection of items and helping to set up our museum, work on the mall, or organizing fundraising events. It's a lot to say about each of you. Your willingness to give selflessly to help others speaks to both your strength and the quality of your character. You gave us the most precious moments of your life, your time. To make life better for those who walk through our Veterans Park and our museum, you make a profound difference in the lives of each and every student that tours the museum and walks away with a greater appreciation for our veterans and their families. While I know that you choose to volunteer selflessly and without expectation of being recognized or rewarded, Today, I wish to do just that. I want to let you know just how much your dedication is appreciated, and to make sure that all our board members are forever grateful to each of you. Whether you are a longtime volunteer or if you have involved fairly recently, and regardless of how many hours you choose to give, it's important for you to know that what you do makes a difference. I'd like to recognize our volunteer year of the ward tonight. At this time, I'd like to ask Aaron Williams to come forward. And he is sharing our volunteer with Steve Nieswanger. Steve's not able to be here tonight. These two men have dedicated hundreds of hours in the museum welcoming people, giving tours, and answering the questions that they have about our facility and about the displays that we have there. If you have any questions about any kind of a military knife, or if you want to see how a military weapon is assembled and re-cleaned and put together and so forth, this is the guy you see. He will show you a demonstration very quickly. He can do it in his sleep. They offer additional support by making the veterans feel appreciated, down to bring donuts and coffee on each Tuesdays. We couldn't be as successful if it wasn't for our volunteers who continue to serve our veterans and making Enid's official American Military Heritage Museum a huge success. Thank you, Aaron. On behalf of the Woodring Wall of Honor and Board of Directors, we want to give you this memory for being our Volunteer of the Year and for all the hours and efforts that you put in and putting us together. Thanks. Aaron comes every day that the museum's open from O'Keene. And he's kind of adopted us, and we've adopted him, and he has made a big difference at the museum. If you all have been out there and you have any questions, I'm sure you've run into him, and he's been a big benefit to you. So thank you so much, Aaron.
As of 2024, the names of more than 58,300 American men and women lost in the Vietnam War were inscribed on the Vietnam Memorial Wall. The wall, as we all know, is a powerful reminder of the price of war. It also brings to mind a time when our country failed to fully acknowledge the sacrifice of its veterans and failed to give them the honor they so richly deserved. Regrettably, many Vietnam veterans, Americans, recognized the bravery and courage involved in that war came too late. The Vietnam generation is graying now. They're getting older. Preserving their stories requires more than a place of remembrance. It requires a place for education and understanding. We also know that today's veterans deserve a healing place of their own. We are honored to have that place right here in Enid, the Vietnam Memorial Wall. In March 29, 2025, the Vietnam Veterans Awareness Day will be a special day in Enid, Oklahoma. Plans are to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the end of the Vietnam War with a huge welcome home celebration, a celebration they deserved but never received. Until then, we continue our tradition of honoring and remembering our Vietnam veterans with a special pinning ceremony through our partnerships with the DoD's Vietnam's 50th Anniversary Commemoration Committee. The City of Enid's Assistant City Manager, Scott Morris, will conduct this service.
The City of Enid and Woodring Wall of Honor and Veterans Park have collaborated to remember the veterans for more than 24 years. Through our partnership, we've honored thousands of Vietnam veterans for their service to our country through public presentations like these we host today. The Woodring Wall of Honor is a partner with the Department of Defense's Vietnam Commemoration Program. Today, we want to again recognize our living U.S. military veterans living at home or abroad who served during the Vietnam War period with a lapel pin. Any veteran who served on active duty in the U.S. Armed Forces at any time during the period of November 1, 1955 to May 15, 1975, regardless of location, is eligible to receive one lapel pin. There is no distinction between veterans who served in country, in theater, or who were stationed elsewhere during the Vietnam War period. All were called to serve. If you served during this period of time and have never been part of this pinning ceremony, please stand. On behalf of the City of Enid and the Woodring Wall of Honor, we want to present you with the lapel pin. We ask that your spouse, friend, or person next to you will assist in this honorable service. Please take the pin out of the box and take the clip off the back of the pin and hold it in your hand and show the front of the pin to your veteran. Please look at the pin. You'll see an eagle. The eagle represents courage, honor, and dedicated service to our nation. It's one of the most recognizable and notable American symbols. It is emblazoned on numerous military insignia. There is a blue circle around the eagle. The color blue matches the canton of the American flag and signifies vigilance, perseverance, and justice. The circle shape and the blue color also match the official seal of the commemoration. There is a laurel wreath on each side of the pin. It is a time-honored symbol representing victory, integrity, and strength. If you look close, you can see stripes behind the eagle. They represent the American flag. On the left side of the eagle, you'll see 6 stars. They represent the 6 allies who served, sacrificed, and fought alongside one another: Australia, New Zealand, the Philippines, the Republic of Korea, Thailand, and the United States. Now turn the pin over and look at the back of the pin. It says, "A grateful nation thanks and honors you." The official name of the commemoration is included to remind each veteran that this is a national initiative to honor our Vietnam veterans. Now please place this lapel pin close to the heart of the wearer. Welcome home, Vietnam veteran. Welcome home.
Okay, this is a little bit off script, so I apologize for that, but I think one more piece of recognition needs to be done tonight. I recently had the honor of going to the Oklahoma Military Hall of Fame presentation, and one of Enid's own was recognized at that presentation. This person is only the second non-veteran in the 25 years of existence for that Military Hall of Fame to be inducted. She's done so much for the city of Enid. If you look around at the Woodring Wall of Honor Park, if you think about all the legacy award ceremonies that have happened, she's written almost every script for every person that's ever talked. She lives and breathes things for veterans every day, and I think we owe Elaine Johns our gratitude for that, and I'm so glad that I was able to be at your Military Hall of Induction. Thank you.
Well, I've stayed pretty much on script tonight, but since we already went off script just a little bit, I want to say thank you to Elaine for asking me to come and MC tonight. If I seemed a little nervous, sorry. It was just a corporal. It's the colonel. Still makes me nervous, even though it's been 10 years or so. Thank you all for letting me be a part of this here tonight. I know there's a lot of places, a lot of other places everybody could be, but I really appreciate everybody coming out. I really appreciate Elaine's hard work, the Woodring Wall of Honor to put this together to our veterans, the city of Enid, and just thank you all for letting me be a part of it. All right, back onto the script. If the living walls at the Veterans Park could talk, you would hear the voices of the past telling us to honor their sacrifices by living fully the freedoms that they bought for us with their very lives. The brave men and women we honored here today made many sacrifices for liberty, and we can honor their lives by remembering them this day. They will be forever in our memories, forever in our hearts, and we will be forever thankful to them. Some veterans fear that their service to our nation will be forgotten, but our mission in Enid is to always remember. This is our mission, to join the past to the future by telling the stories of brave American warriors, past and present, ensuring that future generations of citizens of this country will never forget the sacrifices of those who have served. The torch of freedom these heroes carried into battle must never be allowed to fall to the ground. We have the responsibility to take that torch and pass it on, from generation to generation, so that we may never stop fighting for a better, more secure future for our children. May God bless your travels back home, and may God continue to bless this country and the great state of Oklahoma. Thank you.